Hello, thank you for viewing this video. This is Aldo Pietropoulou with Signal. Today we're going to discuss business justification for AWS console access. What does that mean? Well, in most scenarios, administrators that have access to the AWS console in some cases are federated over from the identity provider over to AWS, and AWS assumes a role or maps the user to a role that is also passed as part of the SAML transaction. Well, a lot of times this federation sequence is based on static attributes, static groups, and static roles. Well, what we're doing here now is adding a very dynamic or just-in-time access aspect to that federation sequence. We're basing that business justification or just-in-time access on a case that's open or I would say, assigned to a particular administrator in ServiceNow. This particular case is modeled as an emergency access case in scenarios, for example, like break glass scenarios, or just a standard, emergency case or emergency access to the AWS infrastructure. So let's go ahead and take a look first at what's happening right now when I'm federating over into AWS. So here I'm initiating federation. Alejandro is my administrator, is going to authenticate. And right now, Alejandro, even though he's an AWS administrator, is not authorized to federate over to the AWS console. Well, if we take a look at the Signal policy, which is a human readable policy here that's currently applied, it reads, DevOps principals, which Alejandro is a DevOps principal, can access an AWS service provider asset if the principal has an active emergency access case assigned. Now, of course, you can edit the policy, and just really quickly showing you some capability in regards to the snippets. Over here, a human readable policy is actually comprises different types of snippets. Principal scope snippets, which identifies the scope or the users involved in the authorization decision, the asset scope, which identifies the protected resource, and then the conditions. You can see that in my case, we have an active emergency access case in ServiceNow as a condition for access to the AWS console. If we go to ServiceNow, you'll see that we have a product, Amazon Web Services, assigned here, and an entitlement, which is emergency access, but we do not have an assignee here. So we're going to assign Alejandro. We're going to update this. And if we go back here just to double check, yep, our policy is still checking for an active emergency access case assigned. Let's go and try to federate over into the AWS console. So we're going to initiate federation, authenticate as Alejandro. And yes, you can see the Signal has provided a response to Ping Federate, and Ping Federate actually said, thank you very much, Signal. You have authorized this user based on business justification or just-in-time access based on that ServiceNow case that's been opened for emergency access, and it then federated the user over to the AWS console. So one other cool thing to take a look at is the logs here. If I refresh the logs in our Signal platform, you see that the very last decision was an allow, and the policy that performed that allow is the DevOps policy that we just selected. Thank you very much for viewing this use case and demonstration. Let us know if you have any similar use cases. We'd be interested in speaking to you about the Signal platform, fine-grained authorization, or just-in-time access. Thank you very much.